This is ibsportstv.com. I'm BJ Griffin. Lockout's supposedly about over, and I'm ready to talk some football finally. I will give you my list of top 5 running backs going into the 2011 football season, and we're going to do that right now. Without wasting any time, number 5 on my list going into the 2011 season, the top 5 running backs is Jamaal Charles from the Kansas City Chiefs. And what impresses me about Jamaal Charles is not only can he run the ball very well, but he can also pass catch 468 receiving yards on the season. And his yard per carry average was incredible, 6.4 yards per carry. That's outstanding for the NFL. And he rushed for 1,467 yards in the regular season. Jamaal Charles has a solid quarterback in Matt Castle, and he also has a solid backup in Thomas Jones. I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to do big things, or they have a great chance to do big things in a division that was very competitive last season. You saw the Chargers and the Raiders also vie for that top spot, and it was pretty entertaining to see last season. I expect it to be entertaining this season. Jamaal Charles, number 5 on my list. Let's go to number 4. Number 4 on my list, always a good choice, running back for the Rams, Steven Jackson. He always kind of flies under the radar a little bit, maybe a little bit underrated, but he's a top guy. I mean, last year I had him number 2 on the list going into the 2010 season, and now I have him at number 4. He was pretty quiet this season. He rushed for over 1,000. He rushed for 1,241 yards, and he's always been the workhorse for that Rams team. Now they actually have a solid quarterback in Sam Bradford, and Steven Jackson is going to be a huge help to Sam Bradford going into this season. Maybe we see the Rams put something together and do something this season. I mean, you never know. Sky's the limit with Sam Bradford, and you always know that Steven Jackson is going to produce. Steven Jackson, number 4 on the list. Let's go to number 3. Number 3 on my list, the top 5 running backs going into the 2011 season. Michael Turner for the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the season before last season, he was plagued by injuries and didn't even rush for over 1,000. But this season, he managed to produce, rush for 1,371 yards. And Michael Turner is always good when he's healthy. Great running down the middle, excellent pass blocker. If you saw him kind of run down Ray Lewis last season, I don't know if a whole lot of people saw that, but if you YouTube search that, you could probably find that. Michael Turner, great pass blocker. And Michael Turner, I mean, I can't say he always produces, because he produces when he's not injured. Let me just put it that way. In the Atlanta Falcons, the core of their offense has always been the run game. They developed a little bit of a pass game with Matt Ryan over the past couple years, but it's always been the run game. Michael Turner is going to have some guys to help him out this season. Jarius Norwood, he always kind of gets hurt, so we got Snelling, and we have, you know, some draft folks coming in, so it's going to be entertaining to watch for the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons really need to, I mean, they always kind of make it to the playoffs and never quite past the threshold into the Super Bowl or even the NFC Championship game as of late. And if you see, they got beat down by the Green Bay Packers last season, and really their offense is getting very, very explosive, and their troubles are really on the defensive side of the ball. So Michael Turner, number 3, excellent running back for the Atlanta Falcons. He's sure to produce if he doesn't get hurt. Let's go into number 2. Number 2 on my list of top 5 running backs going into the 2011 NFL season, Tennessee Titans running back Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson always seems to produce, rush for 1,364 yards this season. And a lot like Jamaal Charles was real good about Chris Johnson. Not only can he run the ball, but he can also pass catch, and that always helps offenses and helps them to be able to produce and really rack up the yards. Now, Titans really need Chris Johnson this season more than ever, because the Titans don't have a quarterback. Kerry Collins is retiring. Vince Young is set to be released after the lockout's over. and they really just don't have anybody back there. They drafted Jake Locker, but I mean, it's highly unlikely that's gonna get back there on his own with no veteran guidance and go out there and produce. And even if he does, they're just gonna really need Chris Johnson to help out. So it's not looking good for the Titans at the quarterback position. Chris Johnson really has to step up and play well for the Tennessee Titans for them to be successful. And part of how I'm doing this list is how important these guys are to their team. And right now, Chris Johnson is going to be extremely important to his team going into this 2011 season. Chris Johnson, always exciting to watch. Number 2 on my list. Let's go to number 1. Number 1 on my list of top 5 running backs going into the 2011 season. Last year, I didn't put him at number 1 because he showed signs of possibly having a fumbling problem as he fumbled the ball a lot throughout the season and the season before last season. But last season, he only had 1 fumble. That guy is Adrian Peterson for the Minnesota Vikings. Always a huge asset to that team. Rushed for 1,298 yards on top of just having that 1 fumble. And a lot like I was saying about Chris Johnson, the Minnesota Vikings are really going to need AP going into this 2011 season because they don't have a quarterback. Brett Favre retiring, and there's no telling who they're going to plug in at quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. So AP is going to be somebody that they need a lot going into this 2011 season. He's really going to have to produce if the Minnesota Vikings expect to be successful. So AP, number 1 running back of top 5 running backs going into the 2011 season. Let's talk about some honorable mentions. Honorable mentions. Now, let's just get right to it. I know a lot of you guys are thinking it. Arian Foster. I'm just not ready to put this guy on the top 5 list of running backs based off of 1 season. Now, the conversation is not who did the best last season. The conversation is who is the best running back going into the 2011 season. And I'm just not sure if that's Arian Foster. Now, Arian Foster had a fantastic season last season. He had the most rush yards and he had the most rushing touchdowns. But Arian Foster, I mean, we've seen guys just produce for 1 season before and then come back the next season and not do very well. Shaun Alexander, prime example of that. So I'm just not ready to put Arian Foster on that list. Maybe if there's a top 10 list, if I made a top 10 list, maybe I would put him in that. But top 5, no, I'm not ready to do that for Arian Foster. Now, Maurice Jones-Drew, another honorable mention. I'm a little bit surprised that I didn't put him in my top 5 list. He was real close. If he was going to be in there, he'd have been number 5 or number 4. He always produces for the Jags, and he had some real exciting plays last season. Maurice Jones-Drew, he's this close from making the list. He was on the list last season. I think he actually did a little bit better last season than he did the season before last season than he did last season. So Maurice Jones-Drew always produces. Great honorable mention. Another honorable mention, Darren McFadden. A lot of guys may not have noticed, but Darren McFadden was kind of running wild early last season. I mean, he was having some big games rushing, and he had a great running back to back him up in Michael Bush. And the Raiders had a great run game last season. I expect them to have a great run game this season because they have new guys coming in. They got, of course, they still have Darren McFadden and Michael Bush. They should have a very explosive run game. And I always say good things about the Raiders going into the season, and then they go in and they kind of suck it up. So I'm not promising anything. I can promise a good run game though, because they have good backs. I mean, that's something that can be automatic. But I can't promise any wins for the Raiders, because they just, I don't know, they just don't have that team cohesion. Somehow they go into every season they lose. So that's it for honorable mentions. Let me know your top 5 list of running backs going into the 2011 season. Would you have Arian Foster in there? Would you not have Arian Foster in there? I mean, let me know. If you all like to make sports picks, make sure to sign up for ibsportstv.com on July 20th. 24th. That's really what the website is about. I don't know if I announced what ibsportstv.com actually was. It's essentially a picks game where you make your sports picks and you get points for them. We rise to the leaderboards, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So make sure to sign up for that, July 24th. Make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter. If you leave a question, I'll answer it in a video and you'll be a part of a segment on IB Sports. It's ibsportstv.com. I'm BJ Griffin. Glad to finally be talking about some football. And I'm signing off.